Hi, this is Namelia coming from the kitchen. So, welcome to another episode of We Make Love in the Kitchen. Today, I'm going to show you how we use the carrot beet pulp to make a beet carrot apple cake. I put a bunch of stuff in there. I looked up a recipe, but I added some things to make it personal to me. So, before I showed you the ingredients. So I'm going to show you how I put them together. I don't put them in any particular order, but I do separate wet stuff from dry stuff. So join me while I take this journey into the carrot and beet experience. Welcome to the ingredients for the carrot beet cake. We have 2 cups mixed beet and carrot pulp, a 1 inch by an inch of ginger, plus a whole grated apple, minus the core, of course. Half a cup of coconut oil, 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon nutmeg, half of a teaspoon allspice, half a teaspoon salt, actually lying, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I use 1 teaspoon of almond extract and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. All these are added to what will be 2 cups of flour plus 3 eggs coming up. Welcome back. So I added 1 cup of sugar to my 2 cups of flour. So I'm going to do, this is a tablespoon. So here we go. So bear with me. So I'm going to do my cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Well, let's not lie. I tend to like a little flavor of cinnamon. So I put 2, even though the recipe is 1 teaspoon. So I do 2. And now the nutmeg, not everyone loves nutmeg. So I will go at half of nutmeg. So half. And if you can hear the background music, I like to do a little dancing while I bake. So I'm listening to some nice soca, a lot of old ones. That's my playlist. So now it's the allspice, half a teaspoon allspice. So we have 2 cinnamons, half nutmeg, half allspice, and we're going to do half salt. Now, this might come up a little bit, so you know what? Let me do it the right way. So I'm going to just shake some into this thing and dip it out. We can always return the rest of it to the salt shaker using a funnel. So don't want to have an extra salty cake. So I'm just going to dip it out from the measuring cup like this. And there we go. Salt is done. So I'm going to just put this to the side to be fixed later. Now the baking soda. Keep it in a little Ziploc after opening. So baking soda. Since I'm using the half, I'll just do 2. So that will be 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, do a little cleaning because I don't want to get baking soda into my baking powder. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So I'll just level that. Half plus half equals 1 whole, as I would tell my little sweeties. And now I'm going to take my whisk and mix all of this together. So give me a minute. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Whisk. I guess I should have everything laid out, but I'm accustomed to working back there. So here we go. So I'm just going to mix or whisk all the dry ingredients together. There's one dry ingredient I don't mix together. This is not in the recipe, but this is a half a cup of walnuts. My lovely Garfield loves walnuts. So we have walnuts I put these in the wet ingredients because I like the walnuts to absorb all the flavors of the wet stuff. I hate to bite into a nut and then you taste like a really um nutty. I don't want it to be too nutty. I want it to absorb the flavors of the vanilla extract and almond extract. So I mix the walnuts with the wet stuff. Okay, folks, welcome to the wet side of our carrot beet apple cake. Okay, so we have beets. I'm gonna toss in half a cup of the walnuts. Yeah, taste it for freshness. Walnuts tossed in. Guess what? It requires 3 eggs, so we'll drop those in. I have the eggs at room temperature. These are large eggs. When I'm finished with the eggs, I actually rinse out the eggshells and I crush them up and I put them in the plants that we have. I learned that the calcium from the eggshells help the plants grow, provides them with additional natural nutrients. So I have a little wet paper towel that I keep to keep the fingers clean. We don't want any Sally or Manila hanging out in our food. So spatula, mix it up a little bit just to get the beets, carrot mix, and the nuts and the 3 eggs going. Eventually, I'll be turning to the good old spoon, but for now, I fool around with the spatula so I could scrape the sides and get the walnuts really, really wet from the eggs and the beet and carrots. So, and eventually, I'll end up using a spatula to do a lot of scraping. I like to get everything in the pan. All right, so I'll get rid of the eggshells. And now I'm going to measure. Here's my teaspoon. Yay! Vanilla. Yay. And I do a little bit of cheating with the almonds because I really like almond flavors. I didn't realize that that was the main ingredient in a lot of Guyanese dishes. We call it, well, pastries. We call them mixed essence, but almond is really key, especially when you're having a cake. Oh my gosh. Just very delicious. Smells wonderful. Tastes great. So 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Yay. Next. Oh, got a little on the finger, so wipe off, wipe off. Now, I'm going to grate. This is like a little finger piece of the ginger. So I'm going to grate the ginger in there. Very nice. Now, apple. This is a Granny Smith. I usually use a Gala apple. It's the first time I'm going to use the Granny Smith. The recipe says to peel it. I don't peel it because whatever, you know. And as we can see, this grater is going to take a while. It requires a little pressure. I usually use the handheld grater, but that's okay. This is close enough. It's going to take a little while. All right. So now it's scraping with my spatula. Ooh, it's very juicy. So even though we extracted the juice from the carrot and the kale, not kale, I'm so funny. We extracted the juice from the carrots and the beets. Grating the apples and the ginger, well, 1 apple and a piece of ginger directly into the mix pretty much adds a lot of that juice that we lost when we did the extraction of the carrot and the beet. So here we go. The apple, carrot, beets with ginger. Smells wonderful. And you can't even see it. The walnuts are hiding in there somewhere. So now I'm gonna do a little touch of wiping, and I'm finished with measuring. So I'm gonna put aside the salt as part of the cleanup over there. And now, wet ingredient. This is the coconut oil, half a cup of coconut oil. So I'm gonna scoop that in there. And I'm constantly mixing. There's no high powered mixer for this. This is just hand mixing. I like using the spatula because I get to scrape and, it's extremely flexible. I wouldn't do it once I put the flour in here, I have to use the spoon. But for now, I can use the spatula. I'm going to save this. Actually, I'll just put this away because there it goes in sync. I can use this apple container right here. I'm going to rest my spatula on this while I work in the flour using the mixing spoon. So there we go. Mix, mix, mix. Smells wonderful. So coconut oil, that's the fat. And other than the eggs that were used, no animal stuff. One day I'll show you how to do it eggless, but for now, we've got eggs. So apple goes away to be cleaned up, and clean that fingertip there. We're finished grating. Next, mixing. So here's the flour mixture. Now grab my trusty spoon, and we are going to put the dry into the wet. I'm just doing a survey to make sure I have everything. All right. So cleanup station. And then I just mix. Now it is thick. It's going to come out very thick. Like not quite cookie dough, but close. But this is where, you get your stirring going on. And, if you listen to some good soca music, then you can get some hip action in there. Right now, I'm listening to Nadia Batson, I believe it is, or Nyla Batson. She's doing, um, funny enough, she's talking about her everything fresh at the market. And this is the sweetness that I'll be putting in Garfield's basket. A lovely carrot, beet, apple cake with some lovely walnuts in there. See, so it started out really stiff, but look at it. Yeah. So keep eating it a little bit. Whenever I bake this with rum-soaked raisins, I always like to top it off as it's finished baking. I put some rum on top of it. Very delicious. All right, so I'm going to just taste a little bit of this for sugar. Make sure it's not bland. So, oh, it was pretty good. The apple did not take out the flavor of the sugar spray. Wash my hands, and then I'm going to put this in the pan. So I'll take you on the other side by the oven. Now, most people set the oven, but I don't because I wait until I'm finished so that my batter, so to speak, can sit for about 5 minutes or so before it even goes in the oven. So right now we're going to take a break, and I'm going to turn on the oven at 350 Fahrenheit. Then I'm going to grease the pan with some coconut oil and put slight flour. It's the springform pan. I'll bring it here and show you how it's done. So while the batter sits, I'm going to go prep the oven, the pan, and we'll get started. I'll set it for 40 minutes and put the bake 350 so it's preheated. Welcome back. Now I have about a teaspoon of coconut oil in here. Drop it. Eh, Cleaning station. Now I'm going to finger rub it in. Make sure I hit all the corners. Nice and oiled coconut oil. Now, this is about a tablespoon. I'm just reusing a container. This is about a tablespoon of flour. Anything that's left over, I just toss it in the trash. So knock that over. Now, just moving it from side to side. It's a spring form. It doesn't really have to be floured on the sides, but I like the corners where the side meets the bottom to at least have some flour. So, and this way, any excess gets on the side. So, as you can see, it's not totally floured on the side. I just wanted to have the corners, well, the parts where the bottom meets the side to get floured. So, now we are going to switch back to the spatula. And I like to get everything out. So, this has been sitting for probably maybe based on the time, I'd say about 3 minutes or so. So now I'm going to put it into the pan cleaning station. They So look at it. It started out really, really stiff looking, but it's very wet thanks to that appling. Garfield's going to have a field day with this one. Just nuts, no raisins. And we cheated using eggs, but I'll figure out how to get this done without the egg situation. And there we go. Try to get as clean a pan as I can. And I just use the tip of the spatula to spread it so that I don't remove any of the flour from the sides. I go from the middle to the edges. No, no, one direction, spread it around, take it over there. There we go. Yes, looks great. Welcome to the test. Toothpick in. Toothpick is a little shallow. There's a little bit on the toothpick. So I'll put it in for another 5 minutes and check. When I tested it the first time, there was a little bit of pinkness at the bottom of the toothpick. So I'm going to let it bake for another 10 more minutes. See how it comes out. Okay. As we listen to a little bit of Barris, it's time to test this carrot beet cake with some walnuts and apples. So at an angle, I'm going to push in the toothpick. Oh, looks clean to me. Let's try the middle. Ooh, toothpick is right there. All right, pulling it out, pulling it out. Totally clean. See that? Nice. So clean toothpick. This cake is done. Good afternoon. It's been 5 hours since the beet carrot cake with a touch of apple has been baked. So it's time to take a slice and see how it looks now that it's cooled down. So join me as I chop it up. So we have a knife, we have a cake. So I'm just going to cut straight down here. And all right, it's moist because it's not flaking out. So let's see the magic. I want to get in there. Ooh, okay. It's a very smooth tabletop and a very smooth. Let me cut that a little bit there. Down. Make sure it goes all the way down. All right. I do not know where my cake's pie server is, but there it is. As you can see, very graceful. And there it is. Now let's check for moisture. If we can do that without it falling off the fork, then it's pretty moist. See? Nice and moist. Mmm, delicious.